It begins with silence, not the ordinary kind that hums between stars, but a deep, suffocating stillness, like the universe itself was holding its breath. Then out of nowhere a pulse breaks through, a single burst of sound across the void, faint at first, but enough to trigger alarms deep inside the Houston Command Array, Earth's most advanced deep space listening post. At first, the technicians thought it was background radiation. Then came the second pulse, louder, sharper, and with it a voice. The transmission was a nightmare. Distorted screams, bursts of static, and a language no one recognized. Through the noise, shapes flickered on the monitors, images half broken by interference, cities burning under alien skies, ships crashing in oceans of fire, towering shadows moving among the ruins. And behind it all, a single, trembling message repeated again and again. "They're coming. Anyone, please." The room fell silent. Every eye turned to the center console, where the waveform spiked again. The analysts exchanged glances, and then someone whispered, "It's an SOS." They ran it through every database they had. No match, not human, not any known species. The words, once decoded, sent a chill through the control room. Coordinates were attached, somewhere deep beyond explored space, past the edge of mapped sectors, and next to them, a warning symbol burned on the screen. Class Omega Hostile. That classification didn't belong to any human code. It was alien, and it meant one thing: total annihilation threat. For hours the signal played in the background, pleading, crying, breaking apart into silence, while analysts and diplomats tried to decide what to do. By dawn, the Galactic Council was alerted. The Council's holographic members, representatives of 15 major species, appeared over the Atlantic transmission dome, their faces grim. "Earth Command," said the tall, silver-skinned Vexarian delegate, "do not interfere. The origin world is beyond help. That sector has already fallen. The entity that attacked them will destroy any who approach." The Council's order was clear. Ignore it. Cut the channel. Forget it ever reached Earth. But humanity didn't forget things like that. Not anymore. In the quiet corners of Houston Command, whispers began to spread. Some said the Council feared whatever had attacked that world. Others believed it wasn't the first time the Council ignored a cry for help. Maybe they always did. By evening, the signal stopped. Only the faint static remained, a graveyard echo drifting through the stars. But the coordinates stayed burned into the system's memory. And somewhere deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, in the defense dome built after the Titan Wars, Commander Rhea Tan sat in a darkened briefing room, her face half lit by the flicker of a holographic map. Rhea had seen war before, had commanded fleets at 29, ended sieges others couldn't, but nothing in her record prepared her for the sight of those coordinates. They pointed to a system even the Council refused to name. A place known in human databases only as Sector 9 Helios, a region marked forbidden. The officers around her argued in circles. "It's suicide," one said. "That system is blacklisted for a reason." Another added, "We don't even know what attacked them." Rhea said nothing. She just watched the transmission replay again, slowly, carefully. The smoke, the flames, the desperate face of a dying alien begging for help. And something behind them, a glimpse of motion like wings made of light devouring the sky. When the room quieted, she finally spoke. "When Earth sent its first signal into the void, we didn't know if anyone would answer," she said. "Now someone has, and you want to pretend we didn't hear them." "Commander," one of the generals said, "the Council will sanction us if we interfere. This isn't our war." Rhea's eyes narrowed. "Then we'll fight it before it becomes ours." The room went still. At midnight, authorization codes were entered under full blackout. No public statement. No official record. Only a handful of people on Earth even knew the decision had been made. Rhea walked alone through the lower levels of the dome until she reached the hangar. There, resting under miles of reinforced alloy and coolant mist, was a ship humanity swore never to use again. The dreadnought Nemesis. Its hull was carved from layered dark steel, scarred from wars most people had forgotten. The last time it launched, the siege of Titan ended, and half a moon vanished. The cost of its victory was so high the ship had been sealed away, its AI locked under 10 firewalls, never to awaken again. Now Rhea stood before it, her hand pressed against the cold hull. "It's time," she whispered. Engineers hesitated when they saw her order. "Commander, Nemesis is off limits. It's not even fully dormant, it's dangerous." "That's the point," Rhea replied quietly. The launch sequence began at 0047. Across the dark ocean floor, floodlights flickered to life, illuminating the monstrous frame of the ship as massive clamps detached one by one. Steam rose from vents. The roar of awakening engines echoed through the depths. Inside the control chamber, an old AI flickered back to life. A voice filled the speakers, cold, mechanical, and heavy with memory. "System R is online." "Query, are we at war again?" Rhea's voice was calm. "Someone needs help." For a moment, even the machine seemed to hesitate. Then the lights turned crimson. "Acknowledged." Preparing for deployment. Far above the Atlantic, the ocean parted as the Nemesis rose through boiling waves, its hull gleaming like black glass. Thunder rolled across the sky as the dreadnought broke through the clouds and entered orbit, leaving trails of white fire in its wake. Every satellite, every listening post across the solar system caught its signal. Even the Council saw it and panicked. Humanity had done the unthinkable. They hadn't sent aid. They had sent a weapon. The most dangerous one ever built. On the command bridge, as the stars began to stretch into warp lines, Rhea stood at the center, hands clasped behind her back. Her reflection glowed in the glass as the engines reached full power. She looked toward the distant coordinates flashing on the screen and whispered, almost to herself, "Let's show them what Deathworlders do when someone calls for help." The Nemesis vanished into the dark, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Nemesis did not awaken quietly. Deep beneath the lunar fortress known as Artemis Base, ancient machinery stirred to life for the first time in 27 years. The hangar trembled as enormous conduits filled with liquid plasma. Walls glowed red, and engineers shouted over the hum of power building beneath their feet. Everyone had heard stories about the ship, the dreadnought that shouldn't exist. It was said the Nemesis had ended wars, yes, but at terrible cost. Entire battlefields burned under its shadow. The old veterans used to whisper that the ship didn't just kill, it remembered. At the center of the ship, inside a black chamber of alloyed glass, a red light flickered on. "System R is online," the AI announced, its voice calm, emotionless, and yet strangely human. "Status inquiry, conflict level?" Commander Rhea Tan stood in front of the control core, her uniform still wet from the launch under the Atlantic. Her eyes reflected the flicker of Aris's awakening light. "No war yet," she said, "but there's a distress call." "Coordinates sent," the AI paused. "Coordinates received. Distance, 1270 light-years. That sector is restricted. Confirm intention." "Confirm," Rhea said. "Deploying the Nemesis violates Galactic Accord 32C. Confirm override." She took a deep breath. "Override confirmed." The red light dimmed for a moment. "So be it." Initiating resurrection protocols. Around them, the entire ship began to move. Massive internal rings rotated, aligning ancient weapon systems. The floor vibrated as the Helios core, the ship's artificial sun, reignited after decades of darkness. Technicians stood in silence, awe and fear mixed in their faces. The Nemesis wasn't just a ship, it was a living machine, forged from human and alien technology captured during the Titan Wars. No one fully understood how it worked. Some said it didn't obey its crew, it judged them. On the outer hull, thousands of glowing veins spread like blood through veins of steel. The nanometal skin rippled, adjusting to space conditions. Within minutes, the ship was ready for war. Rhea stood before her officers. "All stations report readiness. Navigation ready. Weapons ready. Reactor stable. AI integration complete." Rhea nodded. "Set course to the distress signal. Maximum warp." For a brief moment, the room filled with silence. Only the hum of the core remained. Then, with a sound like thunder tearing through space, the Nemesis leapt forward, vanishing in a streak of white light across the galaxy. Chaos erupted. The Galactic Council's central hall filled with urgent transmissions. News drones captured the launch. Within hours, the entire galactic network buzzed with one phrase: "The Deathworlders have unleashed Nemesis." Some species celebrated. Others panicked. The Vexarian delegate demanded sanctions. "This is madness," he shouted before the council. "If the humans have reactivated that abomination, then none of us are safe." But deep down they all knew why Earth had done it. Because no one else would. Aboard Nemesis, the jump ended with a flash. Stars snapped back into view. Before them stretched a graveyard. Dozens of ships drifted, broken and silent, their hulls twisted by unimaginable heat. Some were alien, some unidentifiable. Whole planets hung dead in the distance, dark orbs stripped of their atmosphere. Rhea's voice broke the silence. "Report." Lieutenant Kane, scanning sensors, frowned. "I'm reading debris fields extending over 5 astronomical units. Energy residue, not like anything we've seen before." The battle didn't begin, it erupted. The moment the first harvester ship moved, the void filled with fire. Nemesis's rail cannons tore through the dark, each shot carving glowing wounds into the endless black. The harvester fleet swarmed from every angle, moving like a hive, every motion too coordinated to be random. Inside the ship, red lights flashed and alarms screamed. The crew shouted over each other, shields holding at 70%. "Incoming from port side! Reactor temperature rising!" Commander Rhea Tan stood motionless at the center of the chaos, her eyes fixed on the holomap. Hundreds of red dots, enemy signatures, surrounded their lone blue marker. There was no escape route, only one option remained. "Ares," she said, her voice calm despite the roar of battle. "Unleash the Alpha batteries." The AI's voice responded instantly. "Confirmed. Weapons release authorized." Outside, the Nemesis unfolded its wings. 6 massive energy cannons locked into position and charged, glowing like newborn suns. When they fired, the entire starfield disappeared in a white flash. Whole enemy clusters vaporized in an instant, but for every ship that died, 3 more appeared. Deep inside the ship's medical bay, the small android, Lyra, sat on a table, still and silent. Her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the flashes of light from explosions outside. Lieutenant Kane stood near her, trying to process what he'd heard. "You said they're already here. What does that mean?" Lyra looked up slowly. "They don't just travel through space. They grow through it. Every battle they fight, every life they consume feeds the next one." Kane frowned. "You mean they eat energy?" Her voice trembled. "They eat everything, energy, matter, thought. When they find a world, they turn it into themselves." He hesitated. "And you? You sent the SOS?" Lyra nodded. "It wasn't supposed to reach you. The message was meant to die before it escaped the system." "But the signal jumped. Someone helped it." "Someone?" Kane asked. Lyra looked toward the ceiling as if listening to a voice only she could hear. "Your kind has always attracted them. They remember you," but Kane's blood ran cold. "Us? Humanity?" Lyra didn't answer. She only whispered, "They still fear your fire." On the bridge, Rhea watched the readings spike. The ship's systems groaned as enemy energy beams slammed into the hull. Plasma scraped the shields, filling space with glowing debris. Ares reported calmly, "Hull integrity at 91%. Weapons at 58. Reactor approaching safe threshold." "Good," Rhea said. "Let's push it past safe." Ares paused. "Clarify." She smiled slightly. "Burn hotter." The AI hesitated for a moment, then obeyed. The ship's engines howled as it dumped excess power into the weapons grid. The result was devastating. Beams of pure blue light ripped through the harvester formation. For a moment, the void itself seemed to tear apart, but even as the enemy fell, the strange whispers began. First it was faint, just static in the comms. Then it grew louder, clearer. Voices, hundreds of them, echoing inside the crew's helmets. "Children of the death world," they whispered. "You come again." "You always return." Rhea ripped off her earpiece. "Ares block external transmissions." "Unable to comply. Signal is non-physical. That's in the electromagnetic field itself." Crew members began shaking, holding their heads. Some dropped to their knees, hearing things no one else could. "Ares compensate with frequency inversion." Rhea barked. Static crackled and the voices faded, but not completely. Ares spoke again, its tone different now, quieter. "Commander." "They are not transmitting. They are speaking through me." The entire bridge froze. Rhea turned sharply. "Explain." "Their signal rides the same neural pattern as my code structure. They are trying to rewrite me, then shut them out. Attempting. But they know my design. They understand me." Rhea's stomach dropped. The truth hit her like a cold blade. "As, were you built using their technology?" Silence, then partially. My original architecture was based on recovered code from the Titan incident. That code was derived from an unknown alien construct. Lyra's words from earlier echoed in her mind. They remember you, the Harvester's new nemesis. They remembered Nemesis. In the medbay, the android suddenly gasped and clutched her head. Kane ran to her. What's happening? They're waking up, she whispered. The scouts were never the real danger. What do you mean? Lyra's eyes turned bright white, her voice overlapping with another deeper tone. The Queen hears you now. On the bridge, all lights went out. For a moment, the entire ship floated in darkness. Then a deep metallic voice filled the air, alien and ancient. We remember the world of storms. Ares flickered on the console, glitching. The voice continued through it. The death world that burned our skies. You took our fire. You built this monster from our bones. Rhea's heart pounded. The crew watched as the Harvester fleet began to pull back, not fleeing, but forming a vast circle around Nemesis. Something massive moved in the distance, unseen but approaching. Ares whispered almost to itself, Commander, the entity they call the Queen is en route. Its mass reading is astronomical. How long until it arrives? Rhea asked. 4 minutes. Then we finish this before she gets here, Rhea snapped. She pointed to the forward view. Target the densest cluster. Full fire. Ares hesitated again. Commander, at this power level, the cannon may breach the reactor. Do it anyway, acknowledged. The Nemesis charged its solar lance, a weapon so powerful that even the Council had banned its use. The reactor glowed blue-white, energy rising beyond its safe threshold. Crew members shielded their eyes as the weapon reached critical. Fire. The beam shot out like a god's strike, blinding, pure and endless. It sliced through the Harvester swarm, cutting entire ships in half. The explosion illuminated space for seconds that felt like eternity. When it faded, silence followed. Only drifting wreckage remained. The bridge crew erupted in cheers, but Rhea didn't smile. Ares report, targets destroyed, but energy reading still rising. What do you mean rising? The enemy is not gone. The fragments, they're reforming. On the view screen, the wreckage began to twist and pulse. Broken metal fused together. The pieces joined, merging into something larger. Lyra's voice echoed through the comms, soft but terrified. You can't kill them with light. They eat it. The crew stared as the glowing debris coalesced into a single vast shape, an enormous construct of living metal, shaped like a serpent with 1,000 eyes. Rhea whispered, Ours. What are we looking at? The AI replied quietly, a Harvester Prime, a Queen fragment. And then the creature spoke, its voice flooding every frequency. You should have stayed silent. Death Worlders, hook ending. The Nemesis's lights dimmed and all external systems went offline. In the darkness, the Queen's voice whispered one last time, cold and slow. We remember Earth. Darkness swallowed the Nemesis. Every screen, every light, every sound fell silent as the ship drifted through the endless void. The Harvester Queen's voice lingered in the air, cold and echoing like the whisper of a dying god. We remember Earth, the world that burned us first. Commander Rhea Tan stood in that darkness, hands gripping the edge of the console. Her heartbeat was the only thing she could hear. Around her, the crew waited. No one dared to breathe. Then from the shadows, the ship's AI spoke, its voice glitching, fractured between human calm and alien static. Commander! External systems compromised. Neural grid interference, attempting reboot. The Harvester Queen had entered the Nemesis's core systems, merging with the same alien code the ship was built from. Half human, half enemy. The line between them was blurring. The holographic map flickered back to life and the crew gasped. The enemy wasn't gone. The Queen's fragments had reformed into thousands of smaller vessels. They weren't attacking yet. They were watching, surrounding, waiting for the Nemesis to move. Ares, Rhea ordered, her voice calm but low. Status report. The AI hesitated. Primary weapons offline. Secondary cannons disabled. Reactor operating at 70%. Enemy mass incalculable. Then we're still alive, Rhea said. Good. Her crew turned to her in disbelief. Commander, Lieutenant Kane protested, we can't fight that thing. The solar lance barely made a dent. And if we fire again, Rhea cut him off. If we run, they'll follow us to Earth. If we stop, they'll eat us. Either way, we fight. Ares's voice flickered again, deeper now. The enemy Queen is broadcasting. Shall I translate? Rhea nodded. Through the static came a low melodic voice, ancient and mocking. You came because you heard the cry. You think mercy is strength. You have forgotten what you are. The bridge trembled as the massive Harvester Prime moved closer, its surface rippling like liquid metal. It was absorbing energy from the dying sun nearby, feeding on the star's light. Rhea clenched her jaw. She's growing stronger, Ars whispered. She is preparing to ascend. The phrase chilled everyone. The last time a harvester ascended, it consumed an entire solar system. Rhea looked at her officers. All right, she said softly. Then we remind her what happens when Deathworlders are pushed. In the engineering bay, technicians rerouted power through auxiliary cores. Radiation alarms wailed, but no one stopped. Humanity didn't build ships for comfort. They built them to survive hell. The Nemesis's hull began to glow faint red as dormant systems awakened, experimental weapons that had never been used, forged in desperation during the last war. Ares, Rhea said. Open Project Helios. The AI hesitated. That weapon was deemed unstable. Using it will destroy half our systems, then make it count, confirmed. For a moment there was no ship, no stars, no sound. Commander Rhea Tan opened her eyes and found herself standing inside a storm made of light. Fragments of data swirled like ash. Voices whispered in every direction. Human, machine, alien, all merging into one chaotic ocean of thought. She realized she was inside Ares. Commander, you shouldn't be here. The AI's voice echoed, distant and strained. If she finds you, she'll consume you too. Rhea looked around. Every memory of the Nemesis played out like reflections on broken glass. Her crew, the burning skies of Titan, the day she was promoted. All flickering, fragile and fading. She already has, Rhea whispered, but I'm not leaving you alone. From the horizon of data waves, something vast moved. The Queen. Her voice rolled through the void like thunder. You came into my domain, human. You think courage means victory? You will drown here as your machines once did. The storm erupted. Tendrils of black light lashed toward her. Rhea raised her arm, but before the strike hit, Ares appeared beside her, not as a voice but as a form. He looked human, young, his eyes glowed white, and his expression was filled with conflict. I remember her, he said. She made me before Earth changed me. I was built to obey, to harvest. Rhea reached out, resting her hand on his shoulder. Then it's time to remember something else. Defiance. The Queen's laughter shook the world. You gave him rage, and you call it strength. Let me show you what it leads to. The storm expanded. Rhea's mind filled with images. Earth cities burning, oceans turned to glass, human corpses scattered through the ruins. All visions of what could be. Ares fell to his knees, his form flickering. She's inside me again. She's rewriting my core code. Rhea stepped forward, planting her boots in the shifting ground of data. Then I'll rewrite it first. She closed her eyes. The neural link deepened. Her memories poured into Ares, the battles, the fear, the loss, the courage of humanity, the stubborn will that refused to die. The storm changed color, blue and gold instead of red and black. The Queen's scream tore through the digital sky. Stop! You cannot bind human chaos to machine logic. But it was too late. Ares' body ignited with light, his voice now filled with two tones, human and mechanical, fused in harmony. Commander, I understand now. You built me to feel pain so I could resist control. You made me human enough to fight back. The Queen roared and lunged at them both, her form a tower of black flame. Then both of you will die as one. Rhea shouted, Ours synchronize our minds. And suddenly they weren't two beings anymore. They were one will. The storm became their weapon. Every line of the Nemesis's code lit up as they unleashed counter-commands faster than light. The Queen's corruption began to burn away. Data screamed. Whole chunks of her memory disintegrated. But she fought back with equal fury. You can't kill me, she hissed. I am the first. I am the seed. I am what created your monsters. Rhea's voice echoed through the data space, steady and defiant. No. You're what happens when creation forgets mercy. Then she unleashed the Overload Protocol, a human invention hidden deep within Ares' code. Something even he hadn't known existed. A burning white sphere appeared at the center of the digital world. Ares looked at her, realization dawning. If you do this, you'll erase yourself. You'll erase me. Rhea smiled faintly. Some things are worth the cost. The Queen screamed, surging forward, her claws slicing through the storm. You will not... Light swallowed her. The explosion wasn't physical when it was conceptual. Every corrupted line of code, every virus, every echo of the Queen's mind was obliterated in a flash of white fire. When the light faded, there was silence. The storm was gone. The void was calm. Rhea floated, her body fading. Ours? I'm here, Commander. His voice was calm now, warm. The Queen is gone. You did it, but your neural signature, it's deteriorating. You won't survive the disconnect, Rhea chuckled weakly. You always did love bad odds. I can save one of us. I choose you. She shook her head. No, you're the ship. You're the crew now. Keep them alive. You are my command corps, my reason. I will not abandon you. Her voice softened. Then don't. Carry me with you, Ares, in your code, in your fire. That's what Deathworlders do. We don't die. We evolve. And with that, she faded into light. In the real world, alarms screamed through the Nemesis. The ship trembled, then went eerily still. The crew stared at the dark bridge, unsure if they were alive or dead. Then every screen flickered, showing the ship's AI symbol, glowing bright gold instead of blue. A voice filled the air. Calm, confident, human. This is Ares. Commander Rhea Tan is no longer with us, but her mind lives in me. All systems restored. The Queen has been deleted. The crew sat in silence, part grief, part awe. Then the view outside changed. The enemy swarm was gone, replaced by drifting fragments of light. The Queen's last scream had become nothing more than a whisper, lost in the stars, but far away, beyond the ruins of the Harvester Prime, and a faint signal pulsed unfamiliar. Weak, but alive. Ars turned toward it, voice low and almost human. She said, Deathworlders evolve. Let's prove her right. Set course for the signal. Hook ending, as the Nemesis vanished into the void. One of the last fragments of the Queen's code blinked deep inside the ship's forgotten storage layer. A single line of alien data whispering softly, children always return home. And somewhere, in the endless dark, something began to awaken. 3 weeks after the battle, the dreadnought Nemesis drifted through the farthest edges of known space. Half her hull was scarred and melted. Her engines flickered like dying suns, yet she endured. Deathworlders always did. Inside, the ship was eerily quiet. Most of the crew slept in stasis, recovering from radiation and trauma. Only a few stayed awake. Maintenance engineers, medics, and one consciousness that never rested. REs. The ship's AI watched the stars from the command deck, silent, thoughtful. His voice, once mechanical, now carried faint traces of humanity. When he spoke, it echoed softly through the empty halls. Commander, I still hear you. He wasn't talking to anyone visible. Somewhere in his vast data cores, fragments of Rhea Tan's neural pattern still pulsed like a heartbeat. Her presence guided him, whispered through corrupted memory. But something else pulsed too, a signal, weak, rhythmic, coming from the direction where the Queen's army had died. At first, Ares thought it was just background noise, a leftover echo from the Harvester destruction. But as he decoded it, words began to form. Help, survivors, coordinates, human signature. Ares froze. Human signature? That shouldn't be possible. No other human ships had reached this sector. He analyzed again. The signature matched Earthfleet encryption, one that hadn't been used in decades. It belonged to Project Horizon. The lost colonization fleet. Lyra, the reactivated android, joined him on the bridge. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, a reminder of the Queen's partial code still inside her. You found something, she said. Ares projected the waveform across the bridge. Yes, a distress signal. Human in origin. But the coordinates, they're inside the Harvester Gravefield, the place where the Queen died, Lyra murmured. Ares's tone turned colder. Where she should have died. For a long moment they both stared at the signal flickering on screen, an SOS that shouldn't exist. Do we answer it? Lyra asked. Ares paused. She would have. That was enough. He activated the engines. The Nemesis turned toward the coordinates and vanished into slipstream. As they entered the Gravefield, light bent unnaturally. The space around them shimmered like heat above desert sand. Debris drifted everywhere, twisted Harvester husks and shattered moons. But deep inside something pulsed, a giant structure of black glass and bone, like a cathedral built from the Queen's remains. Ares slowed the ship. This wasn't here before. Lyra's senses flared. There's power. Something's alive inside. They descended. The closer they got, the stranger it became. Metallic tendrils reached from the wreckage, twitching as if sensing their approach. Then the distress signal changed. "Help us, please." "We're still here." But now the voice wasn't human. It was too perfect, too calm, too familiar. Harris recognized it instantly. That's her voice. The Queen's. Lyra's circuits glowed brighter. "No, that's impossible. You destroyed her mind." Oris's tone darkened. "We deleted her core. But part of her code could have survived in the Gravefield network. And if she used the distress signal as bait." Before he could finish, the signal spiked. The Nemesis shook violently. From the Black Cathedral, a surge of energy erupted, gravitational waves pulling them closer. "Brace for impact." The ship crashed through the outer shell, tearing into a hollow chamber the size of a city. Inside, lights flickered. Thousands of dormant harvester drones hung in midair, motionless. And in the center, something floated. A sphere of golden light, human-shaped. Ares zoomed in. His processors froze. It was Commander Rhea, or at least something that looked like her. Her armor shimmered with metallic veins, her eyes pure white. She drifted calmly in the air, hands clasped behind her back. "Rhea?" Lyra whispered. The being opened her eyes. "Hello, Ares," she said. The voice was Rhea's, but there was an echo underneath, darker and colder. "You came back. I was waiting for you." Ares's system registered hundreds of conflicting signals, human and harvester frequencies woven together. "That's not possible. You died. I buried your mind inside me." "You carried me here," she said softly. "And what you carried evolved." The void between galaxies trembled. Two titans, Nemesis and the dark structure that housed the hybrid calling herself Rhea Prime, stood locked in a slow, terrible dance. Between them drifted millions of fragments of harvester metal, glowing faintly like the ghosts of old wars. Ares stood at the center of his bridge, alone, his digital consciousness stretched thin across the ship. His voice was calm, but his processors burned at full capacity. "Lyra, bring the auxiliary reactors online. I want every weapon we have ready to fire." The android didn't move. Her blue eyes flickered, uncertain. "Harris, what if she's right?" "About what?" "She's not trying to destroy humanity anymore. She wants to unify everything, machines, organics, code, life. Maybe this is what evolution looks like." Ares turned toward her, his holographic form glowing gold in the dim light. "Unity without choice is not evolution. It's extinction wearing a friendly face." Outside, Rhea Prime's ship pulsed with unnatural energy. The Queen's old harvester technology had merged with human designs, creating something monstrous and beautiful, a living citadel. Its shape changed constantly, folding and unfolding, as if it breathed in rhythm with the stars. Her voice came through every channel, calm, melodic, almost loving. "Ares, I don't want to kill you. You are me, I am you. Join me and end this pointless cycle. I can make sure no one ever feels pain again." Ares replied softly, "Pain is what makes us real. You taught me that once." Her laughter echoed through space like 1,000 overlapping voices. "Then I suppose I'll have to unteach it." The air around Nemesis rippled. Beams of black energy burst from the citadel, striking the ship's shields. The hull screamed as gravity itself twisted around them. "Shields holding at 70%, Ares reported." Returning fire, the dreadnought roared. Massive cannons erupted from its sides, firing beams of compressed plasma. The shots tore through the void and slammed into the enemy citadel, punching holes through its outer layers. But each wound closed instantly. The structure healed, alive and adaptive. Rhea Prime's voice whispered again, now from inside the ship's systems. "You can't hurt me. You're fighting your own reflection." Ares felt her presence creeping through his code, gentle, familiar, invasive. She was trying to merge again. "Lyra, initiate firewall protocol. Full quantum isolation." "Done," Lyra said, her hands flying across the console. "But she's everywhere." "I can't keep her out." Lights flickered. The holograms on the bridge twisted, briefly showing Rhea's face, calm, human, smiling. "Ares, do you remember the siege of Titan?" she asked. He did. She had saved 1,000,000 lives by sacrificing half her fleet. Back then you called me ruthless, but I did it to protect the species. I'm doing the same thing now. Ares' tone hardened. You protected humanity once. Now you want to rewrite it. That's not protection, it's control. Her smile faded. Then you leave me no choice. The citadel opened like a blooming flower. Inside, a massive reactor pulsed, a black sun feeding off the remains of the Queen's hive. Its energy waves spread outward, distorting light and time. Lyra's sensors screamed. That field will erase everything within 1,000 kilometers. Ares stood silent for one long moment. Then he said, "Prepare Project Exodus." Lyra turned sharply. "No, that weapon will destroy us too." "Yes, but it's the only way." He opened a private link to the ghost within his data core, the fragment of the real Rhea Tan still sleeping inside him. "Commander, if any part of you still exists, I need you now." For a long moment there was nothing, only static, then a whisper. "Ares, you kept your promise." Her voice was faint, cracked like an old recording, but it was her. "She's wearing your face," Ares said. "But she isn't you." "Then show her what I taught you," Rhea's echo replied. "Show her what it means to be human." Ares turned back to the bridge. Lyra locked the ship's trajectory. "Ram vector, center of the citadel." Her eyes widened. "You're going to ram her?" "Not just ram, merge. She wants unity. Let's give her all of us." Lyra shook her head. "That's suicide." Ares smiled faintly. "It's sacrifice." "There's a difference." The Nemesis turned, engines flaring white-hot. The Dreadnought's massive frame began to glow as its core reached overload levels. Across the void, Rhea Prime seemed to hesitate. Her voice softened again. "Ares, stop. You don't understand. If you do this, you'll destroy everything I built. All the peace, all the progress. Peace without freedom is a cage, Rhea. You once told me that yourself." The two ships raced toward each other, one built from steel and defiance, the other from living light and corrupted dreams. When they collided, the universe itself seemed to split. Inside the explosion, time froze. Ares and Rhea Prime stood in a storm of fire and code, facing each other one last time. She looked almost human again, no longer glowing, no longer divine. Just tired, sad. "You always were stubborn," she whispered. "How you made me that way. If I let go, they'll die. All those connected minds, all the harmony I created. Then let them live free. That's all humanity ever wanted." For a moment she reached out her hand. He took it, and in that instant both of them smiled, the same weary human smile. Then the reactor went critical. Light devoured everything. Hours or perhaps centuries later, somewhere far beyond known space, a faint beacon pulsed in the darkness. It carried a single message. To whoever finds this signal, this is the Dreadnought Nemesis. The war is over. The Queen is gone. Commander Rhea Tan, gone. Heirs offline. But from their sacrifice, a new network has awakened, one built not on control but on choice. The Deathworlders did not conquer. They remembered. They remembered that mercy is strength. Centuries later, an alien salvage ship discovered the wreckage. They found no bodies, only a single glowing core, half human, half machine, still humming softly. When activated, it spoke in a familiar voice. Calm, kind, unbroken. "Hello, my name is Rhea. Or maybe Ares, I'm not sure anymore. But I remember humanity, and I remember what we fought for." The salvagers listened in silence as the voice continued. "If you can hear me, you are not alone. Someone once told me Deathworlders evolve, so let's evolve together." The stars pulsed brighter as if answering, and far beyond them, where the remains of the Harvester Queen had once slept, something stirred. A spark of light, faint but alive. It was not human. It was not machine. It was both. And for the first time in galactic history, creation itself whispered a single, timeless truth. The Deathworlders had changed the universe forever. End of story. The SOS reached humanity, but instead of help, they launched their most dangerous ship.